All right, guys, so now that we know more about health promotion, health education, the differences, chronic diseases, those health risk behaviors that influence our chronic diseases, and everything like that, let's think about what health promotion programming and initiatives actually look like, because that's what we're going to be developing, right? You're going to develop your own health promotion program. So you'll see here pictures of all different types of community programming. Our senior faculty here have developed some great programs. One is called PACE, Partnership for Active Community Environments. There's been Walking in Memphis, all different types. Our graduate assistants developed a program called Step It Up for faculty members to increase physical activity throughout the workday, which is a great program. And so just know that there are all different kinds of programming and initiatives throughout our community, and that these are kind of what it looks like across our community here. So let's talk about program planning. Planning an effective program is more difficult than implementing it. Planning, implementing, and evaluating programs are all interrelated, but good planning skills are the prerequisite to programs worthy of evaluation. So there's a quote that I love. It's, if you fail to plan, your plan will fail. So planning programming is so important. We have to start with a plan. It has to be thorough and done in a specific way. So 4 reasons that systemic planning is important is that it gives us time to think through the details and to avoid problems on the front end. It keeps things transparent. It keeps those stakeholders informed. And those stakeholders are anyone that has a vested interest in the program. So those might be the community individuals. It might be the CEO of an organization. So it's anyone that has an interest or that's going to be involved with this program. It gives empowerment once it's approved by decision makers. And decision makers are the ones that make the deciding factors for these programs. And then alignment, and the importance of the program. It aligns things. It allows the program planning and the implementation and the evaluation to all line up to give a seamless program. All right, so let's talk about the process of program planning. We are going to create a program by choice, not by chance. You have the best likelihood of a program succeeding if it is planned well and it's intentional. So we're going to begin by speaking about the generalized model for program planning. Just some pre-planning items before we actually jump into that generalized model. We're going to identify specific locations for our programs. So you want to give a real location. I don't want you to make it up. I want it to be real. So examples could be Rutledge Hill Community Center, Broadway Methodist Church, Shelby Farms. The only thing is that you cannot use a school. Do not use any K through 12 public or private school. It has to be a community accessible location. Again, no schools. All right, you must identify your decision makers. So who will need to give you permission to have your program? Who will make those deciding factors? Give their real names. So Sam Sherrill, the director of the Rutledge Hill Community Center. Helen Henley, the coordinator of Family Life Program in Coffee County. Those are just some examples. Identify your stakeholders. Who will benefit from this program? Who has a vested interest in this program? Identify the gatekeepers. Is there anyone that can prevent access to your program? Who could cause some issues, some hiccups along this road? Who are those gatekeepers? So let's practice looking at an example for a program and some of these pre-planning decisions. So we're going to identify the following people if you were trying to implement a running program at Shelby Farms. As part of your program, you want to conclude the end of the program with a 5K for the participants. So who are those decision makers? Take a minute to think through that. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the gatekeepers? And where would you find this information for your program? So here's some possible answers. The decision makers could be the CEO of Shelby Farms, Jen Andrews, the Director of Sales and Events at Shelby Farms, who's Caroline Norris. The stakeholders might be the staff, the individuals that work at Shelby Farms, right? They need to know about the program and be involved. The priority population, who are you actually targeting this program to? The general public, because the Shelby Farms is used by all. And collaborating running organizations. So is there going to be a formed organization that's already in the community collaborated in this program? Would they maybe be a gatekeeper if it's a running program that already exists? So some other gatekeepers, the Shelby Farm staff, they might be a gatekeeper and cause issues with access to the program. The city and police force. Think through when you actually want to host the 5K. What if there's something else going on in the city and the police force says, no, we can't have individuals helping with traffic that day because we have some other event? That could be a gatekeeper. And the general public could also be some gatekeepers in this example. And then where you can find this information, Shelby Farms has a great website, and a lot of this information is listed there for you. So when you're going through your programs and kind of doing this pre-planning aspect, which you'll be doing very soon this week, if possible, you need to start thinking through this. Who are your decision makers, your stakeholders, your gatekeepers for your priority population and your program? So I need you to answer the key questions for your pre-planning part of your program. What is the purpose of your program? What are you trying to change for your target population, or what are you trying to pinpoint? Identifying engaging partners, your leadership and your structure. These are all questions that you need to ask yourself when thinking through the pre-planning stages of your program. So let's move on to that generalized model that I mentioned earlier. This is a planning model, and we're going to go through this process. So this is the generalized planning model. And we start with assessing needs. So this is collecting and analyzing data to determine the health needs, setting priorities, and selecting that priority population. So this may include a review of literature to understand our population and the needs of that population. Then we're going to move on to setting goals and objectives. This is our strategic planning process. What is going to be accomplished by our program? And we'll look at an example next to kind of put two and two together, but I'm going to go through the process first. Then we're going to actually develop our program and pinpoint those interventions that are going to meet those goals and objectives. So here we'll develop unit plans, session plans, a marketing campaign, and a budget. So how are these goals and objectives going to be achieved? This is actually what you're going to do, that intervention. And then you're going to implement the program. This is putting the program into action. You're maybe doing process and ongoing formative assessments. So how well are these interventions working? Are you having attendance? Are people showing up? Are they engaging? How is it working? And then evaluating the program outcomes. So measurable objectives, we're determining the effectiveness and improving the quality of our programming. So here we have an example. We're looking at stress in college students. So we're going to do a review of literature of stress in college students. How prevalent is it? Are there certain age ranges that it affects more? What are the risks of stress for college students? Then we're going to do the strategic planning. So remember, this is setting our goals and objectives and coming up with what exactly we're going to be accomplishing. So we're going to be improving the stress reduction skills. So what skills can we encourage for these individuals? Improving the knowledge of stress skills, selecting the most valuable skills. Then we're going to actually develop the program or those interventions. So we're going to educate them on different stress reduction skills and teach them meditation, relaxation, and physical activity. And then we're going to do process, ongoing, and formative assessments during those interventions. So counting attendance for those formative assessments. how much to inform and how much. So understanding what needs to be delivered, how well is it being delivered. And then our measurable objectives. We'll maybe do a post-test. However, if you have a post-test, it's important to have a pre-test to be able to compare those items. So having a test to ask them how stressed they feel now after completing the program. What stress reduction skills are they implementing now that they've gone through this program, and compare those to those pre-tests. So you're going to use the generalized, you can use the generalized planning model for the topic you've been approved or provided, and go through these steps and think through each of these. So now we're going to stop here. We're going to pick up the next video looking at the precede proceed model, and that will be the last part of our Module 1 content. But again, I want you to take some time, digest this information, think through this planning model, the generalized planning model, as well as think through what we talked about, those pre-planning steps, the stakeholders, decision makers, because this is all things that you're going to be doing this week to get started with your rationale paper.